Welcome to Urban Beats Radio 2. I am your host, Rashawn Ellis, along with the chef, Mr. Anthony Wright. Today is World Mental Health Day. We will be discussing the topic mental health with returning guest, award-winning author, Frank Saquon Jordan. We will be right back. We are back with returning guest, Mr. Frank Saquon Jordan. Today is World Mental Health Day, ladies and gentlemen, and we will be discussing the topic mental health. We also have Mr. Anthony Wright, the chef, who is going to be joining in with us today to discuss this topic. How are you today, gentlemen? How's everybody doing?
Doing great.
That's good. That's good. That's good. I wanted to discuss the topic mental health. We hear so much about it in the news as far as how it affects relationships, our jobs, careers, entertainment, just our Black community overall. So I want to start off first talking about how do you feel that mental health affects relationships? Frank, you can go first and answer that question.
You want to know something without question. Blacks, we suffer probably more mental health issues probably than any ethnicity. And that's across the board, that's proven. And it does, affects relationships because, our experiences, historically, stem from trauma and violence.
Right. Right.
And that's, from a standpoint of talking, dehumanization, slavery, oppression, and still today racism. Overrepresented, Black men and Black women that's in prisons. And at the same time, too, also, it does, all of that, put in a bowl, all of that does affect relationships as well, too, because, everything that I just named, sometimes we as men and women, we bring that into a relationship, whether it's from where we live at, our jobs, even how we were raised, whether one parent home or both parent home, that has a lot to do with it, as far as relationship is concerned.
Right.
And a lot of our people, we don't address these things, the things that are uncomfortable to talk about. But sometimes you have to be uncomfortable, to be and to feel comfortable. And a lot of our people just don't address these things when you're in a relationship, which
Right.
has a great significance and a great, backlash, or it may have a great, significance as far as, bringing a relationship even forward, as far as problems are concerned.
Yeah, exactly. What's your take on it, Anthony, from the relationship standpoint, mental health?
Let's take a step and say, let me define it. Mental health, a person's condition with regard to their psychological and emotional well-being.
Mm-hmm.
And the mental health of America states that overall mental health conditions occur in Black and African American people in America at the same frequency in white America. Historical dehumanization, oppression, and violence, what Mr. Jordan was just talking about, against Black and African American people has evolved into present day racism, structural, institutional, and individual, and cultivates a uniquely mistrustful and less affluent community experience characterized by a myriad of disparities, including inadequacies, access to and delivery of care in the health system. Now, that all sounded real professional, but what it breaks down to is that every day as African Americans,
right,
unlike any other race, we wake up clearly understanding that we have a weight on our shoulders.
Yes.
Every day we get up out of the bed by choice, we understand that we have to get the ball rolling. And the ball is always rolling uphill. We have to be twice as good as any other race And it only takes for one instance for us to fail and or be looked at as if we are less than.
Exactly.
That is a major, major stigma that we have to carry on our shoulders. And to not say that we don't in some way have some type of stressful related psychological issue is absurd.
Yeah.
It shows every day in how we interact with each other also.
Right. I agree.
Every day, I mean, how I might talk to Mr. Jordan or how I might talk to you, Miss Regina.
Mm-hmm.
In most cases, all of that stress from all these different avenues,
Yeah.
and it is killing our relationships. Let me give you this statistic, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
1 in 4 women, 1 in 4 women will get married, right?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that amazing? Not 50% of our women will get married. 1 in 4 Black women will get married. The other 75%, the other 3 won't even think about getting married. In our community, our marriage rate is just a little bit, as far as divorce rate, is a little bit above 55%. It's actually going into 60%.
Right. Yeah.
Terrible.
Yeah. I can believe
Terrible.
that. I can believe that.
Where have we lost our ability to communicate effectively, to find common ground with our fellow brothers, our sisters, and even with our own children? When did we lose this ability to interact properly in order to build strong relationships in our homes and in our communities?
Right. I mean, and I will say there is a breakdown right now. I don't know how many people can connect with that portion when it comes to talking about relationships. There's a breakdown in relationships right now, as you mentioned, the statistics as far as like the ratio as far as getting married. There's a breakdown there, first of all, as far as people getting married, trust, and as far as the woman and the man. So right there, that starts. Whatever relationships, issues that they had before, that's going to be trauma right there. 2 people coming in there probably already having issues from before. So that's going to be an issue time they even entertain the idea of being together. So as far as like the mental health piece, whatever they experienced in their past relationships, if both people have that trauma, they're dealing with it, whether they talk about it or not. So that's something. Right. Exactly. So that's something to definitely consider when people even come together. Just like whatever they dealt with, like, I mean, it's such a vast topic to even discuss, because not only are they dealing with whatever they dealt with in a past relationship, what about their childhood when they grew up, how they saw their parents interact, their school interactions, their family interactions. Like, mental health is extensive from childhood to adulthood, and just like whatever that thing is that still traumatizes that person, whatever they experience at whatever capacity with whomever they came in contact with. So that's everything that you guys are mentioning. It's extensive. When you go back and look at our history, our Black history, and just how we are affected about, it's like, as far as like trying to make an impact in our careers and, become who we want to become. But like you said, we have to be twice as great. We have to constantly, prove ourselves, even though we know we're good and we're good enough to do whatever it is we want to do. So everything that you're saying is very true. I also want to discuss how it affects our careers, our jobs, and I guess like on the entertainment front, like we had the issues with Sha'Carri Richardson. She was dealing with some family loss in her family earlier in the year. Also, Naomi Osaka, she is a tennis player. She kind of withdrew and didn't want to do press releases. So I want to discuss it from that aspect as well. Frank, you can go again first.
Yeah, one of the things I know, and one of the things that both of you mentioned, which was very key. One key word that I think a lot of our people overlook is communication. We have to discuss what we want, what we don't want to discuss.
Right.
I think that amongst everyone, you know, especially, you know, in the Black families, you know, we can't continue just to overlook or just to sweep certain, you know, conversations up under the rug.
Under the rug.
Yeah.
Because those very things can cause mental trauma, you know, to
Right.
us.
Exactly.
As adults, you know, rather than had we spoke about it, you know, Brother Anthony, you know, Sister Rishawn, you know, 20 years ago, it could have been fixed. You know,
Yes.
the situation could have been fixed mentally. But if you're a kid and you're, you know, you have some deep, dark secret, whether it's something that you have a fear of public, you know, or you getting bullied in school, that brings upon, you know, mental stress. Now you don't want to go to class because everyone's teasing you about the clothes that you have on, and that brings about a low self-esteem. Now, you know, you don't want to go to school because you don't have a certain, you know, a genere about yourself, or you don't have on the latest fashion. So now kids are at home, now they're making up excuses not to go to school now because they're going to get teased. You got a bully in the bathroom. Now he's shaking you down for your money. So these are all.
Brother, let me tell you something. Just a couple of days ago, I saw a news feed where a young brother, high school, was bullied by multiple people. He was beaten, stripped naked at school.
That's horrible.
Can you imagine that? But let me tell you what the young brother did. See, this wasn't a one-time occurrence. This is something that had been happening to him regularly. Being bullied by these same individuals. This young brother had had enough. He went to his car in the parking lot, got a gun out of his car, came back, shot the main bully, and the other one that had been tormenting him over the year at school.
See, that's the breaking point right there.
Now, let me just ask this question. Let me ask this question. What would promote, I have nothing but sympathy and heartache for that young brother. You know, not only did he get abused and bullied, he took a life, and now that's on him. That's covering him also. But let me just go back and say this. What would promote an individual or individuals to prey upon another person in that way? What kind of emotional or psychological background would you have to have in order for you to think that doing these type of things to another person is acceptable or will make you feel a certain way or look a certain way in your current group of friends? I mean, it all stems from family, what's going on in the household. You know, but that doesn't, okay, now let me, again, I got to take a step back. That doesn't mean that some of these people don't come from relatively good households.
Exactly.
This isn't all from just broken households, people with single mothers or single fathers or a poverty background. Some of these individuals have good homes. And we have to take a look at these people and say, there's something seriously wrong with how you look at this world. And I think a lot of it comes from social media, the video game industry, how the video game industry portrays killing people in the act of shooting and dismembering bodies in a video game. They make it fun.
Yes.
Then these kids get, you know, I don't want to say brainwashed, but they become desensitized to this thing. You know, it becomes like, oh, it's just a video game. It's just a game. You know, and they go through their lives looking at things this way. I mean, when I grew up, you know, I'm 51 years old. You go out on the street, you got outside, and you played outside, right?
Yes.
And in your neighborhood, there were certain areas in your neighborhood that you didn't go to because you you might get robbed. Don't laugh at me, Brother Jordan. I'm telling you.
Get shut down.
In Miami, there are certain areas. I grew up in a middle class neighborhood, But I
Mhm.
also knew that in certain areas, even within the neighborhood, I didn't go to
Mhm.
because of the dangers.
Yeah.
Um, I think the world has made it easy for kids to not understand the consequences of actions
Right.
and the dangers of what this world truly holds.
I
And I'm
was
gonna
going to
pass.
say, yeah, I was going to say separating reality from fiction. I think in a lot of cases, like, that's how people get so caught up in social media.
Right,
Like they looking at
right.
what they see on social media and TV. So it's like separating reality and fiction. And they'll
Worried
actually
about
try
their
some,
likes,
right. They'll go ahead and
worried
try
about
some
their
stuff
dislikes.
just to see the effect. Like what will actually happen if I do this?
Right. Hey, listen, both of you are right. And
Mhm.
listen, to your point, brother Anthony, listen, I grew up in Brooklyn in the projects, and let me tell you something.
Hey,
I've seen,
Brooktown.
listen, I've seen, bullies get bullied.
Mm.
And I've seen
Yeah,
some good people, people that didn't bother anybody get bullied. And the side effect from that is that, when you have people, that want, when you have kids that go to school, they want to get good grades, listening to their parents and they get bullied in school, that brings about a depression, that brings
it
Yeah.
about a
does. It
depression,
does.
now
Yeah.
the school nurse, they want to call the parents up and talk to them. Now, you got, your kids being prescribed to depression meds, and that's a whole different story, itself right there, and now you got your kids being prescribed, to depression meds, clonazepam, which we know that brings on more depression. That's a
More
different
issues.
topic for
Mhm.
a different day. That's a
Mhm.
different topic for a different day. But these are all relegated, like both of you said, which is very good points. This is what happens. Blacks, we got the highest rate of schizophrenia. The only thing
Yes.
that
Yes.
white Americans have a higher rate when it comes to the mental health is suicide rates.
Yeah.
Right.
We have a
Absolutely.
different way of handling things
Mhm.
when it comes to our problems, ongoing problems, that's
Aggression.
within our community and within our families. And once again, it starts within the home.
Mhm.
Even for the most sense, when you have someone that's getting bullied, that can go, either way. That can go, the wrong way, which you just gave a great example of, and that can go a way where, the kid retaliates with his fist. Now he's getting
Right.
accolades about himself. The person that was getting bullied, now he beat the bully up. Now he's the big bully on the block. Now
Right,
he's
right.
doing the same
Right.
thing.
Exactly.
So where does it end?
Mhm.
Where does it end?
Mhm.
It ends with conversation and good communication.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
And Brother Jordan, the family is key. Whether you're a single mother, a single father, or a two-parent household,
Right.
Mhm.
the conversation has to be had. The stigma that we as African Americans, Black people in America,
Right.
have to wash that away.
Right.
We need to have honest, open conversation, uncomfortable conversations that we don't like having,
Right.
in order for us to reach another level of well-being, whether it be emotional, psychological, financial. Our mental health is the beginning and end of any success in our lives.
Right.
Whether it be financial, relationship wise, or
Mhm.
individual well-being, health. Our
Mhm.
psychological well-being is the beginning of that. And families have to, at a very young age with our children, sit down and have those conversations. Open the door for our children to come to us
Right.
and have the ability to tell us things that we might not want to hear.
Right.
Mhm.
There are a lot of conversations that we don't want to hear,
Mhm.
but we have to have those conversations, like you said, Brother Jordan. We have to. It's important. A true story. My son, when he was in elementary, my son had always been a very, very studious young boy.
Mhm.
And I went to a parent-teacher conference. I guess it was open house that night, right? And my son, we sat down, we were taking our turns with the teacher. My son told me he had to use the restroom. I said, cool, no problem. So he gets up and he goes to the restroom, right? And I'm sitting there and I'm taking it easy. And he's kind of taking longer than I'm expecting him to take in order to use the restroom. So I go look for him. And lo and behold, he's in the restroom, but there are 3 little ashy boys bullying my son.
Oh, wow.
I initially, listen, when somebody messes with my kid,
Right.
I turn into a straight monkey. Let me tell you. All right.
As you
That's
should.
right.
That's
I
right.
tell your tail at your friend.
That's
But
right.
I took a step back because I didn't want to spank these children, because today you can't spank kids like you could
Right.
back in the day. You know, I
Right.
used to get whooped by I did something wrong. I got whooped by my next door neighbor. And then when they
Right.
told my mom, I used to get a whoop. Well, you can't do that these days.
Yeah.
We don't have that kind of community, you know? But I snatched these little boys up
Hmm.
and I walked back into the classroom. I said, okay, so whose parents are these kids? And you know, these people raised their hands. I said, so these 3 boys are in the restroom bullying my son. All
Yeah.
right. Now, let me just say this so that all of you understand moving forward. If my son comes home with any marks on his body, knots on his head,
That's right.
cuts, anything, these 3 little boys and your parents, you are going to get it.
That's right.
I'm not
Absolutely.
taking it to the courts. I'm not calling the police.
Right.
I'm coming to see you.
That's right. That's right.
All right.
It is what it is.
You have to help your children know that you have their back,
Right.
no
Absolutely.
matter what the situation is. They have
Right.
to be able to come to you.
Yep,
We need
absolutely.
that open conversation and that trust. Ms.
Mhm.
Regina, you said it. The trust, the understanding that I can count on my parents. I can
Absolutely.
count on my father. I can count on my mother
Hmm.
to be there for me.
Hmm.
And that's something that we have to definitely build.
Right. Your children's trust and their confidence come from the confidence that you instill in them. I'm the same way with my son. I have it to where anything he wants to talk about, even if he feels funny about it, talk about it. I never want him
Talk
to
about
feel that he can't open his mouth or he's scared. Like, scared for what? Speak. This is your voice. You speak and speak your truth and tell me what it is. And we talk about it. So whatever it is, we'll deal with it. I mean, that's very, very important to have your children. Because I mean, you definitely don't want them to grow up as an adult and they don't know how to assert themselves on a job or in business. That's
or
key.
express themselves.
Absolutely, that's very, very important. But I want to go back to the part that I mentioned as far as careers and entertainment. How do you feel like mental health affects entertainers and people in their working careers? Frank.
You want to know something that goes back to what you know, what I was saying is especially entertainers, because now you know, society, that's who society is giving us, entertainers, to aspire and to look to, you know,
Right.
to pretty much, you know, put them on a platform for us to, you know, emulate, you know, I may
Yes.
say.
Yeah.
And you know, you got to pick and choose. You know, you got to pick and choose, because you know, everything that you see is not really good for you. You know, especially in today, you know, especially in
Yep.
today's society,
Mhm.
you have less affluent males and you have less affluent females. You
Mhm.
know, that you can look at on TV and you can say, you know, no. But the more that you see things in the entertainment, the more that you see things in the entertainment field, the more that they press it and the more that they promote it, you know,
Mhm.
you may not have, you know, you may have thought that was terrible, Brother Anthony, last
Right.
week. I'm not, you know, that's terrible what that guy is doing over there, the way
Exactly.
what he has on, and he has on woman's attire, and you know,
Right,
that's
right.
just terrible. But I'm gonna tell you like this: the more that they promote it, the more that they put it out on the airwaves, you become, it starts to become part of the norm, accepting, and it desensitizes your normality, you know,
Exactly.
morals, you know. So you know, it's one of those things where me personally, as far as like entertainment and in the workplace, you have to separate the two, and you really have to really, if you have kids at home, you got to take that time and you got to sit down with your kids and you got to explain to them the difference between what's immoral and what's moral.
Absolutely.
And you got to always give really good examples, and don't let society critique and bring their influences into your good valued home.
Into your
And
home.
you
Absolutely.
accept, okay,
That's
and
true.
you accept their ways, and you accept their ways of thinking. Now you got a kid, now you may have a kid now, that's, he may be looking in your closet, Sister Sean, for certain articles to wear. And good and well, that's not normal, but society would have you think, and society would have you curtail and say, well, let them be what they want to be. It's nothing, it's nothing wrong with that. Maybe it's something wrong with you, Sister Reshawn. The kid is just, being who he want to be.
Yeah.
Me personally, as a Black man in America, I got a problem with that. Personally speaking, me personally, I got a problem with that, Brother Anthony. I don't want my son coming back to me, telling me that, hey, let's go to Saks Fifth Avenue and let's look at the latest dresses I want to wear to my prom. Me personally, as a Black man in America, I have a problem with that, because me personally, that's very immoral. And for the media and for entertainment to try to push that into our household and us to accept that, that's totally wrong. That's inflammatory, flagrantly just wrong, and that's a different topic for a different day as well too. But I think that entertainment, most entertainment, not all, most entertainment plays a huge part, on mental health,
and how we see ourselves.
Yes, absolutely.
How we see ourselves.
Absolutely.
Right? And how it influences us. And Brother Jordan, you are not wrong. There needs to be a standard that's set.
Yeah.
Right? Now, let me just say this. People want to say this and that about homosexuality in its forms, right? This is what I say about homosexuality. Whether you're born a certain way or it's something that someone manipulated onto you, as a father in my house, I can respect how you feel about certain things. But in my house, this is how it will go. These are the standards.
That's right.
If you're a young man, born a man, you're going to dress like a man.
That's right.
Right? If you're a young lady, a woman, you're going to dress like a young lady, a young woman. All right? Now, with that being said, once you leave my house and you pay your own bills, then you can dress like you want to, and you can act the way you want to. Because as a father, I have given you the guidance that I should have given you, set a standard for you in order for you to say, this is who I am and this is who I am not, okay? That's fine. Your decision, I will respect it wholeheartedly. But in my house, the bills I pay, the food I put on your table, and the electricity, and let me just say it like my grandfather would say, my electricity I pay in this here house, you will respect my standards, my rules,
right?
How I run things in my house.
Yeah.
If you don't, you are more than welcome to leave. It's as simple as that. While you're under my roof, this is where it's at. This is how it's going to work. This is how it's going to be. When you leave my house, then you are then you can run your show. The stars, especially our music stars, have been over the years putting out such a morally corrupt ideology in their music, especially for young women. Go out there, have sex, act like a man. You can have sex like a man, robbing men, doing like, what is that? Like,
Yeah,
Who thinks that should be something we should have on our radio and
Right.
something that our children should be listening to?
right.
Right.
Exactly.
Corruption. We are being manipulated. We are being used as an experiment so that they
Mm,
can see how it affects us. And it's affecting us because more and more of our young women are so sexually active.
Right.
It
right.
is crazy. Now, I'm not saying that they're more sexually active than when we were. What I am saying is it is much more visible, especially with social media. Making videos of themselves with not just one partner, but multiple partners. It is an epidemic. Some bus drivers can tell you that 12-year-old girls performing oral sex on the bus going to school in the morning.
Yep.
What is wrong? Something is broken.
Right. But you know what the thing of it is? That's what entertainment is in most cases, especially
Manipulation.
nowadays. Manipulation, but that's what sells, sex. That's
It's
why you
sex
have the
sales.
Instagram models. That's why you got, the ladies on Facebook, with everything out.
Ah,
It's not covered up. So I mean, but see, that's what they're promoting. They're promoting sex because sex sells. And if you're showcasing that, that's the selling point right there. But then when your kids, your daughters, they get a hold of it, they think that's what sex is. Maybe that's how I'm supposed to look. And that's not
it's
the
terrible.
case. Because the price that those ladies pay to get to the top, how many of our men approach them? If you want this, what are you willing to do for me? They have no idea. That's where the whole mental health thing starts right there. Because what price are you willing to pay to get to the top of how many people you have to sleep with? And then when you
And how
finally
it
get
affects
there,
you.
how
Oh,
can you even enjoy your success? Because you did all this stuff because you wanted this and you thought that's what it took to get there. All
and
that
how
stuff
it
plays on your
affects you.
mental. Yeah,
And how it affects
Right.
you and how you
yeah,
see men now and how you see
yes,
relationships now.
all
It
that.
is amazing that, I'm so glad that you said that because
Yeah.
that definitely so many, I mean, we back in the day, people used to talk about in corporate America, women sleeping to get to the top. Nowadays, women are sleeping to get likes, to get likes on social media, to get clout, putting that kind of information out about themselves. Bad news is good news sometimes for them.
Yep.
Such a broken thought process. And
Yeah.
and you mentioned one person in social media and in the news recently, Sha'Carri Richardson.
Yeah. Yep.
And let me say something about that young woman.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't think she has the right people in her camp.
Right. Yeah.
I don't
Exactly.
think I don't think her initial background is bad, but I don't
Mm-mm.
think she got the structure she needed growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And now I don't think that she has the right kind of people in her camp to tell her, listen, how you're doing things isn't painting a good picture of you.
Right.
How you act
Exactly.
in social media is giving a negative image of you that will undoubtedly follow you for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
And currently, you need to clean that up. You need to get that together because guess what? Let's say you don't win any more races. Let's say uh you take a big old poop and it don't work out the way you think it's going to work out.
Yeah.
Moving forward, you are a dud. You are a dud that everybody can easily dislike because of how you portrayed yourself on the media and in social media.
Right. That's pretty huge. That's very, very huge.
It's
I
huge.
think you're right. Yeah. I think we hit on it a little bit already, but I just want to make sure we cover all our bases as far as how mental health affects the Black community, men and women. I guess like what would the effects be on men? What would the effects be on women? As we can separate a little bit and talk about both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, how it affects men, you gotta look at it in a wide scope as well too. You got to look at what's offered out here, to Black men, growing up, in, maybe low, income housing and maybe middle class as well too. Affluent, affluent people that's around us, has a great, I would say probably maybe scope, or has a great, influence on us. And that's very, 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 very helpful. But if every day, if you walk out of your community and you got guys downstairs, they're smoking weed and they're talking about robbing people,
Right.
and talking about cutting school, and, you're crazy for going to school, that's all peer pressure. Peer pressure also is part of mental health as well too. Just to fit in,
Right.
as a young Black man or a young Black woman, just to fit in, with people of your peers, so you won't be teased, as well too. That's hard. That's a hard thing to do, growing up, especially in Brooklyn, like I was as a kid. You had the guys that was downstairs, playing, LL Cool J and Rakim,
rolling dice.
Yeah. Make it clap to this from morning, all the way to night when you came back from school, and you literally would get teased, coming back inside the building by certain people. You would get teased for using certain words, and they would say you're talking white, or you want to be white.
Right.
All of that goes, hey, Brother Anthony, all of that goes into a mental health, issues, because now you feel that you shouldn't talk properly. Now you feel that you shouldn't carry yourself a certain way because you're going to be teased. So now what you have to do now, you got to make a choice. You got to say, okay, well, do I continue to be teased for the next 4 or 5 years me living here, or do I have to dumb myself down just to fit in? Do I
fit in so nobody
less intelligent? Do I talk less intelligent? Do I carry less books? Do I have less conversation with certain people? Because these are the people, and you got to take a look at the people who's saying it, for one thing. You got to take a look at the people who's saying it, for one thing. And at the same time too, now here's where the conversation comes in at, that you have to have with good moral standing people. If you don't have good moral standing people that you can go to, a neighborhood dude that has done well for himself, or maybe one of your friends has a big brother or big sister that has done well for themselves, and they can pretty much talk you back, and they can pretty much balance everything out. If you don't have that outlet like that, 9 times out of 10, you're going to look for the answers on social media. You're going to look for the answers, in all the wrong places, Brother Anthony. And most I forbid you look for it in gang territory. Now you got gangs that's showing you love, and you don't receive that love at home. You don't receive that love in school. You don't receive that love nowhere else. So now you got gangs showing you love. And so that's a different story in itself right there, because you got to look at the outcome of everything that you do in life. There's always an outcome. If you're smoking weed, what is the outcome of that? 9 times out of 10, you smoke it long enough, you're going to get lung cancer. You just may terminate yourself before your time. But you got to look at everything that you do, and you got to look at the long-term effects behind it. So, when like you said, Sister Reshawn, a lot of things that kids and adults that we face every day, the conversations that we didn't have. Hey, Brother Anthony, why do we have some men that's 50 years old still calling themselves OGs and Crips and Bloods? Why is that? Someone should have had, and talking about gang banging, 50 years old, you still talking about gang banging, you still doing a certain dance, and somebody didn't have a conversation, Brother Anthony and Sister with these people when they were young. You understand what I'm saying?
It's the mentality though.
Some men don't graduate to that next level.
That part. That's it. That's it.
And to talk on that point that you made earlier, Mr. Jordan, about it's our own people that stress us out. Our own people who talk, make you feel uncomfortable about educating yourself, having a different mindset, being creative.
It's not cool to be smart. It's not cool to be smart.
It's not cool to be able to be creative and play the cello or the violin. You know what I'm saying? To be a mathematician, you know what I'm saying, or to be on the debate team, or to be on the chess team. It's
Right.
not cool. Oh man, what's
Right.
wrong with you, man? You trying to act black? What
Right,
that?
I'm
You gonna
so
get
glad.
acting like that around here. You gonna get your tail whipped. What? It's brother. Believe me when I tell you. I had a Jewish thing. I went to a pretty much almost all white school growing up, and I had a Jewish friend by the name of David Zimmer. He was the only cat my parents would let me go spend the night over. I couldn't spend the night over anybody in the neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? But life was completely different whenever I went over his house. I saw things differently, the way their conversation, the things they talked about. And our community, we have to help our young people. It starts with our young people and giving them that outlet. Brother Jordan, you are absolutely right. These grown men who are still walking around talking about Crips, Bloods, gangs, and stuff like that. Some are trying to help the younger generation.
That's correct.
And some are stuck.
Right.
Right.
Some have
Absolutely.
not graduated
Yeah.
to that next level of understanding, that next level of, I have been successful. I have made it to a certain level. I should be helping the younger generation to make it to this next level also, instead of propagating that same idea in our communities. It is tough for a woman, a young woman, or a young male in our community to be different, to think different, to have outlets in different areas and not be treated like an outcast.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially young men, and for young women, if they're not doing or dressing like the other young girls,
Right.
they are catching it.
Exactly.
They are catching it. You know?
Yeah, I'm so glad that you mentioned everything that you mentioned, because that's what it feels like. It's frowned upon if someone Black does have mental health issues. Like, it looks like it's a stereotype within our own community. Like, we're not supposed to go to psychologists. That's what white people do.
Right. Why are you going there? Don't you tell
Yeah,
nobody
we
you going
Black,
there?
we cool, we hard. Ain't nothing gonna happen to us. Well, yeah, it is. That's why
Don't let
you
nobody know. Don't let nobody know. Cousin Clora going to that therapist.
exactly. It's frowned upon. Like, we're not supposed to
Come on,
be
man.
like
Come
anyone
on,
that's
man.
white that will immediately go to a life coach. They'll go to a psychotherapist or a psychologist or whatever, because they know that something's wrong and they're trying to get help. It's like it's a stereotype within our own Black community that we're not supposed to have to deal with anything like that, when in reality, any traumas that you've had, you should go get them synced about.
You should
You should go
go
get yourself checked out. Right.
go
Life
talk to
coaches,
someone.
your church,
Go
whatever
talk
it may
to someone.
take. Right. Go and get that thing worked on, because we're always constantly interacting with one another. And so every interaction, every friendship, every relationship, you want to nip those things in the bud. So when you do move on to your next relationship or friendship, you're gonna know how to handle those situations, instead of being someone that can be a hothead and snap off, go off, and say things that you probably would have never said before. But if you understand how to, handle yourself, and how to, take a step back and really reason and pay attention to certain situations or whatever, you can approach it differently. Everything doesn't have to be an explosive moment or go off.
And also know your triggers.
Yeah,
Know
that right
where
there
you
triggers. Absolutely. Yes.
know where you struggle in order to
Yes.
say,
That's
okay,
it.
hold up. Let me
That's
take a
it.
step back.
Right.
Let me take a step back. Let me regroup.
Mhm.
You have to learn where you are. What is your weak points?
Right. Absolutely. That's the whole
You know,
purpose in going to having life coaches and your church or whatever. You have to learn what those triggers are. The main thing is learning yourself, because
right,
everything isn't always someone else's fault.
right.
Right.
Refresh yourself.
Yeah,
Refresh
absolutely.
yourself.
Right.
Renew yourself. Give yourself an opportunity to win. Because my grandfather, God rest his soul, Mr. Melvin Wright, this man could barely read, but was a successful businessman. And he told me, he said, he very he very seldom used my name whenever he was giving wisdom. He used to always say, "Boy, success isn't always because of what you do and what you don't do.
Mhm.
Sometimes your success is stopped because of the people you have in your surroundings.
Mm, mm, mm. Absolutely.
Have the right kind of people in your surroundings. Associate yourself with the right kind of people so that
Mhm.
when you need that mental push, that pat on the back, that maybe a kick in the behind, these people will say, "No, brother, that's the wrong way to do it," or "No,
That's right.
sister, this is how you should do it because this will help you out." We
Absolutely.
need that. We need to help each other. We need to be more open to having criticism because we need that. We need to know where we're falling short
Right.
constructively,
Mm-hmm.
constructive criticism, the
Mm-hmm.
proper type of criticism, and we need that push in the back. Sometimes we need a kick in the behind.
Yeah.
We need those things.
Yeah.
Right.
That's love. That's love.
Right.
That's love. That's
Right.
family love. That's friend love. That's my cousin love. That's
Mm-hmm. Right. That actually goes into my next question as far as like bringing awareness into the Black community about mental health. Some of the pointers that I actually got that I actually, looked up in Google, they were saying, talk to people that you know. And kind of goes back to what I said earlier. A lot of times, like in our Black community, is stereotyped like we shouldn't have anything wrong with us. Like maybe a lot of people don't have that certain person that they can go to and talk to about it. Also like being open about your experience, that still goes in line with having someone that you can feel
Mhm.
comfortable with to tell what you just experienced, because a lot of times when talking about something, people don't understand from your perspective. They're understanding in their perspective what they've experienced. So if they don't know anything about that, they're not going to be easy to understand what you're talking about, how it affects you. That's why they have licensed psychologists. That's why they have licensed life coaches to talk about those types of things. It also mentioned, getting educated about it, just becoming aware. And I think a lot of times in our community and maybe in some other communities, we're closed-minded a little bit on certain things. Like I said, in our community, like, oh, you shouldn't have to go to a psychologist. Well, things happen to you like they happen to anybody else. Why not? And I
Right.
mean, especially the one thing I would definitely say is important when you begin to see how your relationships are being handled. And if it's a number of them and the same things keep happening, you need to go check on some things. And it's not everybody else's fault.
Because the common denominator is you.
Right.
And having that so it's difficult sometimes to
Yeah.
talk to people that especially as adults, because
Right.
the unfortunate side is if you open up and you spill something or give people a look into what personally is giving you issue,
Mm-hmm.
the unfortunate side of that is many times, not many, let's say sometimes, it's used against you.
Mm. True. That
It's
is true.
weaponized. It's
People are
weaponized.
afraid of that.
Having
Right.
having that objective point of view, having that person that is getting paid to keep your secrets,
Right.
to listen to you, to give outlet is a very good thing, because sometimes some information you can't tell people. Some information you can't tell
You can't tell. They say never tell everything.
Right.
You can't tell people because again, it can be weaponized. And we've
Right.
seen that more often than not
Use
in
against you.
social media, where
Yeah.
personal information was weaponized and put out there and used against you to either blackmail you or to get likes on social media. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
mental health, having those open doors, having that outlet, having friends that are willing to say, you know what, I don't know if this is something I should be listening to, but it's important that you find someone or have someone that you can talk to about this subject.
Right. Absolutely.
I don't feel comfortable talking to you about this.
Mm-hmm.
And I love you, so I will help you find somebody. to talk about this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
And let me say this also, and one thing our people have to do, they have to stop being afraid and of being who we are. We can only relate to ourselves, and what I mean by that is that you have psychologists out here. I'm pretty sure you got Caucasian psychologists out here,
Right?
that's excellent and dynamic in their field. But we can only relate to one another. If you come from an African American household, try to find an African American psychologist, or therapist that
someone that can relate
to your problems. Okay, that can relate to your problems. By and large, a white psychologist to me, it wouldn't be the best fit or the best choice if I had a problem or my son had a problem. I want someone that looks like me. Okay, I want someone
that you can identify with,
one that can relate, to what I am going through and what my kids are going through. Because if you bring your kids or you bring yourself into an office and you have someone else that's there that's evaluating you and have you sitting on the couch, 9 times out of 10 they can't relate. Okay, and they're not going to give you the best fit or the best answer because quite frankly, they haven't been through what we've been through. And I'm not, hey, listen, I'm not, my tongue, hey, listen, I'm not scared to say it. Okay. It's just not the best fit. If you go to a African-American psychologist that has lived what you lived and has been through what you've been through, and now they're at a professional level, okay, where they're actually, just pretty much giving their professional advice and giving you that is the best people to go to. If you go to anyone else, 9 times out of 10, not saying everyone, they may not be able to relate to your problems because they haven't been through the same thing. Okay. And those are facts. Those are facts. That's the reason why history class, I failed history class, Brother Anthony, believe it or not, because my history teacher, I couldn't relate to George Washington and Benjamin Franklin because he wasn't teaching anything about my people. So that made it extra boring. Okay, I wanted to hear things about what we did. And one thing you did mention, Brother Anthony, I'm gonna put this out here too. You said something about the cello, and this is going off a little bit. You said something about it's not cool to play the cello and the guitar or something.
Right.
A brother by the name of Robert Fleming actually invented the guitar. We invented string instruments. So how cool is it to tell your kids and introduce your kids to what we've done? George Washington Carver, the greatest black scientist on this planet. Okay. Look, I had a conversation. I kid you not. It was a young lady. She was a teenager. I had saw her at a community center. This was like about maybe 2 months ago. She was on a cell phone. And I said, a black man invented the cell phone, guy by the name of Samson. And she just looked at me and she kept on with the cell phone. And so I kid you not.
Caught you off guard that you didn't listen.
Yeah, Nicki Minaj is more important. Right. What she's talking about is more important. Right. So later on that day, her mom came and picked her up, and her mom was doing something on her GPS. I said, hey, do you know a black woman by the name of Gladys Mae West invented the GPS? Both of them looked at me like and it's amazing because it was like, who cares? But it's just amazing.
Jewels and it's like, so it's crazy.
That means they're really not interested in knowing that, but it would be so helpful if we actually, educated ourselves and went researched and found out this information. That's why I'm saying it's like a lot of things are like stereotype. Like it's not, like you said, it's not cool to know certain things. Like, I don't care about that. It's not important to me, but you should know it.
The ability to look at yourself and be proud, be proud to say, I am a black man or a black woman and I am great. I come from greatness.
Right.
We affect this world in so many different ways. I mean, how strong would your mental health be if you had that kind of positivity coming down, just flowing off into you? You know what I'm saying? I mean, we'd be in a much better place. But the unfortunate side is, as much as we influence the world does not allow us to see ourselves as positive as we should. And as African Americans, it is our responsibility our responsibility to ourselves to take back our image, to take back our self-worth, to
Right.
take back how we see ourselves,
Yeah.
and to start promoting our own narratives and not letting people tell us who and what we are by using magazines, social media, and our own music against us. Our mental health, our self-esteem, our self-awareness
Yep.
will be much better.
I totally agree with you. I mean, that's my main purpose for doing Urban Beats. I want my people to be painted in a better. I want us to be right in a better light. I definitely want that to be the case because so many times in media, social media, we're painted in a bad light. We are painted as if we're ignorant, we're not educated, we don't know anything, and that's so far from the truth.
Right.
I mean,
Black,
we are right.
right. Black history just didn't start with the network BET. I tell young
Absolutely.
kids that all the time.
Absolutely.
You know, what you see on BET is not the origin, or is not the, you know, the prominent, you know, genius of Black people. You know,
Right.
I tell them
Absolutely.
that all the time.
Right. It's definitely important for us to have platforms that actually, you know, showcase us in a positive light. You know, how far we've come from all the things that oppressed us to where we are now. So that's, like I said, that's my whole drive for doing everything that I do, because I know that we're all that and then some. And I'm going to keep pushing to do what I do and take it to the next level so we can continue to push our agenda to put us in a positive light.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know what used to kill me back in the 80s when people actually watched the news, and you know, the television was the main source of news viewing. It used to eat at me, even in my early teens, to watch the news and then something happened in a Black community and they got the dustiest looking
The worst
Black
one.
person in the crowd
Still
to
do it.
explain what
Yeah.
happened. And they would honestly portray us like some uneducated, poorly thought out, poorly dressed bunch of vagabonds.
Yeah. Yeah.
It killed me.
Yeah.
Right.
But we can take that back. We can take that back.
Right, exactly. I mean, we definitely gotta keep, you know, pushing our agenda to, you know, paint ourselves in a positive light and, you know, hopefully maybe help those that don't know how to do that, teach them the same thing as well.
That's right. We got to spread it out.
Spread the word, definitely spread the word. But I appreciate
Black male media.
I appreciate you gentlemen today taking time out of your busy schedules to discuss mental health. Today is Mental Health Day, World Mental Health Day. Actually, this week has been Mental Health Week from October 3rd to October 9th. So I may try to, like, you know, highlight this every year. You know, we get together, maybe add on some more new guests to talk about the issue or whatever, you know, to just put this information out there. But I thank you both so much. Frank Jordan, I know you're going to be a regular on our show with different topics or whatever. You're always great to have on the show. And Anthony, my main buddy, as far as everything. Right, I know, always chopping it up, and all of Urban Beats business as well. So I'm so glad we got a chance to get together today to do this. And we will circle back around again to do some more stuff. So thank y'all so much for being on the show today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you guys.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Was brought to you by Whipple Tompkins Mobile Notary Service, where notary service is fast and reliable. Available 24/7. You better get it.